directly to SoundCloud. It goes directly to iTunes. Search Victory Lane Radio, and you will find it, Hollering with Hammer Show, from that week. It's there forever. You can share it, listen to it if there's anything that you miss from the program. Tonight's show is special. I got a lot of people listening tonight that aren't normally listening to my program. I come crazy. I come uncensored. I come wild. I'm in your face. You know, I just talk about anything I want. I have a lot of guests on, stuff like that. Tonight is a special night for the Hollering with Hammer Show and VictoryLaneRadio.com. There will be no nonsense tonight, okay? You got the Chief Gabon in charge here tonight, but I will not be cursing. There will be no nonsense. This is family friendly. The children can listen. Your grandma can listen. Real quick before I start this, I'd like to say happy birthday to my son, Paul Joseph. He's 5 years old the other day. Paul, if you're listening, I'm going to see you tomorrow, and I'm going to get you a present, buddy. Tonight, this show is dedicated to Brian Scalfani. He lost his life tragically this past week. He was 22 years old, from Stamford, Connecticut. He was living in South Carolina, attending college there. As many of you know who listen to my program, you hear me do a little commercial every week for Scalfani Italian Food Corporation. It's a business that has employed me for, 9 years, almost a decade, whatever it is. They took me from the scrap heap. They gave me a job when nobody else would even consider talking to me. And, they've been nothing but great to me all the way through, the entire family. I'm taking this program, dedicated to Brian Scalfani. We're going to have a lot of guests on tonight. The first guest will be Tim from Signatures for Soldiers. As you guys know, Tim supplies me with baseball players that come on my program. And he has a charity that gives money. He sells autographs. He's going to explain the whole thing. Then we're going to have Stefan Nasso, Brian Scalfani's first kickbox instructor. Now, people who are listening to this show who haven't listened before, I butcher names, okay? I mess up words. All right, that's just me, so just bear with me. And also tonight, we're going to have Derek Kennington, MMA fighter, fighting tomorrow. He's actually weighing in right now. He's going to call around 7:45, hopefully, after the public weigh-in and after his media obligations. He's going to be fighting on pay-per-view for USFFC 29 on flowcombat.com tomorrow in honor of Brian Scalfani. He's fighting in honor of Brian Scalfani. Brian Scalfani fought in his gym. Brian Scalfani was an MMA fighter, a boxer, a kickboxer. He loved all sports. He was a Denver Bronco fan, all that stuff. I'm not going to completely go into his life. We're just going to let other people, I got a few guests lined up, and let them come in and talk about it. So, with that said, within a couple minutes, Tim from Signatures for Soldiers will call in. Just one quick thing on the Brian Scalfani deal. Donations, the family has requested that if anybody would like to make a donation in honor of Brian Scalfani, you can make your donations to the American Cancer Society or any of your local animal shelters. Brian was a big animal lover. He had 2 dogs himself. And so you donate, if you want to make a donation, put it in Brian Scalfani's name and send it to your local animal shelter or the American Cancer Society.
Tim is on.
All right. So, just real briefly, once again, this program is dedicated tonight to Brian Scalfani and the Scalfani family. Next up on the show is Tim from Signatures for Soldiers. Tim, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well, Hammer. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. We had talked previously, and you were scheduled for tonight, and this tragic event came up, but you were still gracious to come on, even though I was going a different direction with the show, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all your support. You've been with me since day one. Signatures for Soldiers has been behind me since day one. Without you and your support, I wouldn't have had some of the great interviews I've had, Glenn Wilson, Boof Bonzer, Damian Jackson, Scott Sanders, just to name a few. So if you could, everybody's heard the hype. They've heard me talking about Signatures for Soldiers. They've seen me link it on all my social media. So straight from you, if you'd like to tell everybody a little bit about what you do and about your foundation and all that, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. First, let me just extend my deepest condolences to the family and friends and loved ones. It's anytime we lose somebody much too young, it's a tragedy. So, definitely my deepest condolences to everybody that's been affected by this. Signatures for Soldiers is just really my own little personal effort to help raise money for a registered 501c3 nonprofit charity that supports disabled military veterans. So the charity itself is Military Missions in Action. They were founded back in January of 2008. They do home repairs, home remodels for disabled military veterans, as well as disabled children of active duty military at no cost to the recipients or their families. So that's kind of their main purpose. But then some other things that they've developed over the years and they do today are they support homeless veterans through participation in homeless stand downs by providing hygiene items, brand new clothing, things of that nature. They also support homeless veterans who are newly housed because a lot of these men and women, when they're homeless and they move into a new apartment or a new house, they really only have the clothes on their back or the bags that they're carrying. So what Military Missions in Action does is they make that house a home by showing up with furniture to basically furnish the whole place. That includes giving them food and giving them flatware and things like that. So, and then the other thing that they do is they support deployed active duty military by sending care packages to them overseas. So they do a lot of really great things for our military, past and present. And they do all of that while keeping their administrative costs right at or under 5% annually. So what does that mean? National average for a nonprofit is about 20% on administrative costs. So for every dollar that they take in, 95 cents is going back to help disabled veterans, disabled children of active duty military and active duty military themselves. So it's a really worthwhile cause, very financially sound and frugal with how they spend their money, making sure that it goes to where it needs to go to. So this has been a charity that I've been involved with since the very beginning. So when about 2 years ago this month, I grew up big baseball fan, collected baseball cards as a kid, got into collecting sports autographs. So I just kind of had a quiet night at home, sitting around watching TV, thinking about ways to support Military Missions in Action. And every nonprofit can always use money to continue doing what they do. So I decided to start reaching out to some athletes, asking them if they would sign items that I send to them, knowing that I'm going to turn around, sell those items to collectors or fans or whoever, and 100% of the money that I raise, not just the profits, but 100% of the money that I raise goes directly to Military Missions in Action. And it's been a great 2-year ride. I look back on it and a lot of great and exciting things have happened. We probably don't have enough time to talk about it all, but, we'll try to hit the highlights at least.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I'd like to touch on real quickly, before my show was even thought of, you were on Twitter. I followed you. I liked what you were doing. And what you also do is you don't just take autographs from stars. You take autographs in from collectors like me. And also former military man and a super baseball collector, baseball card collector behind the booth tonight on my program, the great Eric LaFlesh. Guys like us who collect cards, we might have some extra autographs laying around. We might have gone to a show and had a guy sign 5 or 6 autographs. We might have an extra one. Or we might have bought some packs and got some autograph cards that we don't personally care about. Maybe a team that we don't like. We got a player, we personally don't like. So we turn around and guys like us can send that to you. That's also part of your deal. And I had sent you a whole bunch of autographs that I had just laying around that I was doing nothing with. Nothing was ever going to be done with them. And we're not talking send you Mickey Mantle autographs.
No.
We can send you Tim. You can sell a Tim Wallach autograph card. I mean, $2, $3, $4. Any little bit helps. So if you'd like to go ahead and continue.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, in 2 years, I've been able to raise over $15,000 through my Signatures for Soldiers effort for military missions in action. And when people hear that, they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. And it absolutely is. But what people fail to realize is that over the course of the 2 years, it hasn't been a $3,000 donation, a $5,000 donation. What it's been those $2 donations, $5 donations, $7 donations. And, those donations just add up very quickly. And you're right. I've had a lot of collectors contact me and say, hey, Tim, love what you're doing. Wish I could support it financially. But, I have this collection of cards that I'm not doing anything with. It's sitting around. It's collecting dust. Can I send it to you and you do with it what you want? I'm like, absolutely. And I take signed cards and unsigned cards, and not just cards, but other items, other signed items as well. And if I can turn it around and sell it or use it to get an autograph and then sell, again, 100% of the money goes directly back to military missions in action. It's been great.
Right. And back to my point real briefly, anybody can find you on any of your social media, your Signatures for Soldiers on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Once again, this is the Hollering with Hammer radio show on VictoryLaneRadio.com, dedicated tonight to the memory of Brian Scalfani. So basically, like you had hit on, and I had touched when I just threw out Tim Wallach, as for instance, you're not looking for just the Mickey Mantle. And also, for one thing for people to realize, which I knew right away, which is why I sent you a package, you do all the shipping on your own. You're getting the mail. You don't have anybody. You have nobody working for you. This is you doing this. So in 2 years, for you to raise $15,000 for this charity, that's a big deal. And I hope somebody out there is sitting on an autograph right now that they're doing nothing with. Throw it in an envelope. Tim can give you all the information and where to get it to him. He's on all the social media, Signatures for Soldiers, and he'll give you all the other information. But I just wanted that to be known. So if you want to continue, Tim.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that up because, it is just me. I work a full-time job, so this project is my time, that I give to help military missions in action. So, everything kind of comes to my house. I deal with it. I post it. I sell it. I make arrangements for people to make their donations, put it in the mail, so all the envelopes, stamps, those types of things, I'm buying with my money. But that's okay because that's the commitment I've made to help military missions in action, help spread their name and the great work that they do. And, I've had other people that have said, hey, I'm not really into sports or anything like that. How can I help? And I've said, go ahead and, buy some envelopes and send them to me. Buy some blue Sharpies and send them to me, because those are usually the things that I use the most. Or buy a book of stamps and send them to me. And I've had people do that, and that's been great and wonderful. Somebody today just made a donation, and I reached out to him and I said, hey, you made this $12 donation. Did I forget to send you something that we agreed that, you were going to buy and make the donation to Military Missions in Action? And he said, no. He said, I love what you're doing, and I wish I could support it more financially. So what I've decided to do is I've canceled my Netflix subscription, and what I would spend monthly on my next Netflix subscription, I'm now sending to Military Missions in Action. If I had 10 people that sent $12 a month, you're talking almost $1,500 for the year that Military Missions in Action is going to be able to use for disabled veterans. So it's not only about raising money, it's also about raising awareness. And I've been able to really do that, and it's been great. We've gotten some great support. There's a lot of kind of smaller companies that are jumping on board saying, hey, Tim, we want to be involved. There's a product called E-Hydrate that's out there that I was able to meet through Derek Cope Racing. They've jumped on board and they said, we're going to support Signatures for Soldiers and Military Missions in Action. There's Game Face International, which is a clothing line that's been started by two former Major League players, Damian Jackson and Trinidad Hubbard. They're jumping on board saying, hey, we want to partner up with you. There's another clothing company called Charity Artworks that's been started by former Major League player Damon Buford and his brother. They're jumping on board. There's a veteran who started up his own sports marketing and clothing line. It's called Rivalry Sports. He's jumping on board to support in ways that he can. I could go on and on and on with the list. There's just so many people that have jumped on board, and everybody's like, Tim, you're doing a great job. This is awesome. This is great. And the thing that I tell people is that I can't do this without all the support. I've got over 300 athletes that are willing to sign items for me to support what I'm doing. Some of the guys are current active major league and minor league players that they've, on their dime, they've said, hey, I'm going to send you game used equipment. Guys like Lance McCullers of the Houston Astros, Colin Moran, who made his major league debut with the Houston Astros this year, Jose Trevino, who is in the Texas Rangers organization right now, Sal Giardino, who's in the Atlanta Braves system right now. All those are four guys that I can think of off the top of my head that have donated, game used stuff to, for me to raise money for Military Missions in Action. One of the first guys to do that was Taylor Motter, who made his major league debut this year with the Tampa Bay Rays. So there's been a lot of great guys, and it's not just baseball. I've had a lot of folks from the NASCAR side of the house that have really been stepping up and donating signed items. So it's been a great ride. I think that the greatest thing about it is, there's a lot of these guys that I've been able to talk to on the phone, and these are guys that I grew up watching and, idolizing as a kid. And what's neat, guys ultra talented in their craft, but they're better human beings than I could have ever imagined. And it's just been simply awesome.
Right. Now, you've touched on a few things, just real briefly. The Hollering with Hammer program on VictoryLaneRadio.com completely supports the military and the veterans. We have a veteran behind the booth tonight, helping me run my show, as always. And just real briefly, Derek Cope is actually going to be a guest on my program. He was supposed to be on a couple months ago. I had to take a break from my show. And guys like Glenn Wilson was probably my favorite interview. He came to me through Signatures for Soldiers. Glenn Wilson, that was the very first show. If people want to go back on SoundCloud and listen to the very first Hollering with Hammer show, the Glenn Wilson interview was great. We've had Scott Sanders, former Cub. We've had through you guys, we've gotten in contact with pitch4kids.org and Pitch4Kids on Facebook. Stacy Beck, Rod Beck's wife. And, we've had Damian Jackson, like you said, Game Face International, and we're also going to have Trinidad Hollering, I think, next Friday night, along with bull rider Nicholas Saveri. That's next Friday night. We've had many of your players on. Booth Bonzer was on, a local Connecticut guy. Joey Meyer, who hit the longest home run. So, it's been great. We get to hear a lot of baseball stories, and finally, we get the picture behind Signatures for Soldiers. We got a few minutes left here before I head to the next guest. So if you'd like to let the people know if you have a website, your social media links, stuff like that, and we can go from there.
Yeah,
so if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So website is www.signaturesforsoldiers, all one word, .com. So that's the website. There's a link on there to get in touch with me via email, or if you just want to shoot me an email, it's signaturesforsoldiers@yahoo.com. Again, signaturesforsoldiers, all one word, all spelled out, @yahoo.com. That's a good email address to reach me at. If you want to follow me on social media, on Facebook, just search for Signatures for FOR Soldiers. The Facebook page will pop up. Hit the like button, and you'll follow all the updates and everything. You can always message me through that page. And then on Twitter, my handle is @SIGS, SIGS, the number 4, and then Soldiers. Again, I try to stay pretty active on social media. I've had some wonderful support from folks, and really, the big thing that I want to really stress to folks is that whether it's supporting Signatures for Soldiers and Military Missions in Action or some other charity, don't ever think that your contribution is too small, because it really isn't. Whether it's time, energy, whether it's, one day a month you're going to forego stopping at that local coffee place to spend $5 on a coffee that you don't think about. Bring your coffee to work the one day and say, okay, I'm going to pocket that $5 and donate that once a month. That stuff goes a long way to these charities, and I just really encourage people to get involved. And hopefully folks that are listening to this that reach out to me, we can coordinate some things, come up with some creative ways to support our men and women who have signed on the dotted line to serve our country. Especially in this political environment and this time of the year with Veterans Day coming up, I think we all owe it to them to pay back just a little bit. So again, Hammer, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, Tim, I really appreciate you coming on, and like we discussed earlier with the circumstances tonight, we're dedicating the program to Brian Scalfani and the Scalfani family. I had to cut you short, but I would appreciate you coming back, and I appreciate, all the help you've done for this program and getting the Hollering Hammer show name out there, VictoryLaneRadio.com out there. And, I'm sitting on about 30 baseball players. I'm in talks with about 30 baseball players, thanks to you for, the next upcoming couple months. So
no problem.
I look forward, to our partnership.
Yeah, happy to help, and really happy for your success with the radio show. And again, thanks for having me on. It's an honor, and you let me know when you need to fill in, and I'll be more than happy to come back on and talk more about Signatures for Soldiers, give some updates, and just other things that we want to shoot the breeze about.
All right, I appreciate that, Tim.
All right, take care, Hammer.
Okay. That was Tim from Signatures for Soldiers. Once again, you can go to signaturesforsoldiers.com, one word, or you can head over to Signatures for Soldiers on all social media. If you have any problem finding it, just go to my social media. Go to my Hollering Hammer page. He's linked up on anything I do. Pretty much he's tagged in. So, basically on any of my social media, he's tagged in. So you just head over there, and like I said, I donated to him long before this program. I'm completely for the military. I'm completely for the veterans. I'm down to do anything I can at any point in time. if one person tonight puts an autograph in the mail and sends it to him, if one person takes 3 envelopes and 3 stamps and puts it in an envelope and mails it to him, I'm happy with that. So I appreciate that. Once again, you're listening to the Hollering with Hammer radio show on VictoryLaneRadio.com. You can head to any app market, type in Victory Lane Radio. We got 2 apps over there. Also, you can hear us on TuneIn. Just type Victory Lane Radio. So once again tonight, we're dedicating the show tonight to Brian Scalfani. Now, to the new people listening, I talk a little different. I'm a little wound up. Whatever. That's just how I am. I'm here. So just get used to it. I mess up a lot of words and I mess up a lot of things, but it's fine. We roll with it. So if I mess up your name, if I mess up something, don't worry about it. It's just the way it is. Now,
guest is online.
Yes. The next guest tonight is Stefan Nazo. Stefan, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
In these circumstances, I'm good. I know this hit you pretty hard. If you'd like to take a moment and let everybody know about Brian Scalfani, better than I can, and let everybody know about his life and his kickboxing. And we appreciate you taking the time to call in tonight, also.
Of course, I had to. Brian was a kickboxing student of mine. He was actually the first student I ever had. He came into my gym at about 14 years old with such a strong passion for mixed martial arts. This is hard to say.
Take your time, man. This is your time. Take your time. Don't worry about it.
He, from the start, always said that he wanted to compete, and him being I was best friends with his older brother at the time. So I cared about his safety more than anything, so I actually didn't want him to compete, but he just had a passion that I could not block. So I trained him for years, probably 4 years, until he finally decided to compete. But all throughout, he was just getting better at everything. He was struggling with schoolwork, so I would make him bring his homework to the dojo. He ended up struggling in high school, and then while doing his schoolwork at the dojo, he became a college student. He got accepted into college. He got his own job. He was paying his own bills to get into kickboxing, so much so I had such a fun time training him that I stopped charging him because it was just a pleasure to have. He came in, he always had a low tone of voice. And after kickboxing, he just let his presence be known. He grew as a person. It was just something like amazing to watch the process of him growing. And so it came down to the final month of training where he accepted a fight. And I said, Brian, I'm not sure you should do this. You're doing so many more positive things. I think you should focus on that. He said, Steve, this is just something I need to do. So I said, all right, I'm going to support you. He told his family I didn't want to do it behind their back because I wanted him to tell and just everything be out on the table. So he told them that he was in a fight. He didn't want anyone to come because he didn't want to feel any type of pressure. He just wanted to be me and him and his brother. So we're training. It comes the day of the fight. I pick him up. I bring him to Rhode Island. We're warming up, and I'm looking at him, and he is just so relaxed. I'm like so much relaxed. Even when I competed, I was scared. I was petrified. I wanted to leave. I just didn't want to be there. He was so relaxed. I had to ask. I was like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I'm absolutely fine. He's like, I just completely trust in my ability. I'm going to win this fight. We get into the ring, same thing. I just see it in his eyes. He's just going to win this fight. 3 rounds. I mean, he displayed it was a game of chess. It was beautiful. It was one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life. And just to watch my student have a lifetime goal and achieve it, it was just it was one of the proudest moments of my life to see, because it was hard work that we put in. No one saw all the nights he went running. No one saw all the days he was in the gym. No one saw all the broken bones or everything he put himself through just to accomplish a life goal. It was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, I'm not really going to, tonight's about Brian Scalfani. I'm not really going to get into the whole fight game and, the whole fight lifestyle. But the toughest guys get nervous when they walk in the ring. The toughest guys want to walk out before they walk in. So, what you just said shows character, it shows, like a swagger. And now, when you said you trained him, was that your only fight with him, or did he continue on with you?
Because with him, it was always about, like you said, just the character building. I always focused with him on getting everything done in his life. Fighting was just something for a confidence boost. I wanted him to be a student. I wanted him to respect people, be good to his family. And just I'm sure you could see on social media, the amount of people that are affected by this just goes to show you. I can tell you, I've known him since he was a little kid or teenager. In all my years of knowing him, I have never seen him do anything wrong. And I am not lying about that. I have never seen him disrespect anyone. I've never seen him raise his voice to anyone. I've never seen him say anything negative about anyone. He was just always happy to be included. He never tried to be anyone he wasn't. It was just, that's what I was wanting for him. It's just all character, and I couldn't have picked. It was almost as if, I'm not too religious of a person, but it's almost as if God made him my first two. Like, God made me and him meet each other.
Right. So sometimes you run into people in life, and it's just that way. Now,
it's like meant
me
to be.
Personally, my link personally to the Scalfani family is Brian Scalfani's father, Gus, and he has that character also. He has that same way. He's a stand-up person, straight through. And so is the whole Scalfani family. Brian's uncles also, they took care of me, giving me a job for 10 years. They are great people. They're a different type of people. They got a swagger. Even the older members got a swagger. Brian's father walked with a swagger. But they're stand-up people. They have a character. They're unbelievable. So
that's why I said it's like my brother.
Right. Now, basically, are you still training yourself? Are you still fighting yourself, or
no? I
do you
don't
still have
compete.
Your gym?
I don't compete anymore. My gym actually relocated to Florida, so I train at a gym called Revolution Fitness, where actually we have this fighter Cordell Booker, who is missed the Olympic trials by one fight, but he's pretty much the future of Stamford, Connecticut. He's doing great. He's a professional, undefeated. I don't want to compete anymore. I don't want that lifestyle, but I will always train. It's a sport that I need to remain close to for me. But I run a company, and I work at a company called ADP, but I run a company called Uphold that just focuses on aiding charities in Stamford, Connecticut. Some national programs, but just like aiding like the Stanford public school systems with coats and like the food bank and just stuff like that. But Brian was always the first in line to help me with every single thing, because while he was my student, I was actually building it. So he helped me in every single event, whether it was raising money for people who don't have food, toys for tots. He helped me with everything. He was there for every single event.
Okay, now you had mentioned a few minutes ago that all the people that Brian had impacted in his life and the outpouring on social media, it's unbelievable. You type in Brian Scalfani in Facebook, and there's there's just so much. And me personally, I put up, you know, a little promo that I was doing the show tonight and dedicating it to him. And, you know, through the different social media I have, I think there was over 500 or 600 likes and shares. That's all social media and different platforms and stuff like that. It's just been unbelievable. Is there anything else you'd like to say? You know,
well,
I mean, this is your time. It's your time.
Yeah, just on that, it's funny because there's so many people that are sharing all these stories, but Brian was never even on the internet. I think Brian before this posted maybe 5 pictures. You know, so this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of people that cared about him. I mean, you can ask anyone from Stanford, through someone they know Brian. You know, and he's a kid, like I said, who is quiet, who kept to himself, and he's still this popular. So it just goes to show you that he never tried to be anyone. He always just tried to be himself, never anyone that he wasn't. He respected everyone, and you never know how many people that you affect in life, you know. And he just did he was just it was a beautiful soul. I can't say enough. I have never seen him do anything wrong.
Now, you came up from Florida to be with the Scalfani family?
No. I'm a resident of Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. I thought you had said
you
had relocated.
No, I've been best friends with Adam for a while, his brother.
Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to say rest in peace to Brian. That's it. I'm having a hard time speaking about it.
Absolutely, that's understandable. You know, I feel for the family. I feel for you personally. I really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank you for what you're doing for the Scalfani family and just everything.
You know, me personally, I'm not somebody with comforting words, and Brian's father knows that. So I figured this would be my way to just let that family know that I personally thank them for what they've done for me, and I can give this to them, and you know, give them a moment, you know, to be happy and think back. That's what I'm doing, because you know I'm not a man of words. I didn't want to say anything with the family, stuff like that. So I do this. You know, we'll do a dedication to Brian Scalfani. It's the Hollow Hammer Radio Show on VictoryLaneRadio.com. Yeah, anything else? We actually have Derek Kennington coming on in about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
He's going to be
I just want to
down
wish
South
everyone
Carolina
luck.
for Brian tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd just like to wish everyone luck. And that's it. I can't really talk too much more.
All right, man. Hey, listen, I really appreciate you coming on, and
thank you so much.
You know, if you need to get a hold of me for anything, just private message me, brother. I got you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, thank you. You take care too. That was Stefan Nasso, kickboxing trainer of Brian Scalfani, and Brian Scalfani was his first student. And that just goes to show you this kid touched. Well, I'm not going to say kid. This young man, Brian Scalfani, he was no kid. He touched a lot of people's lives. I mean, you see it on Facebook, you see it on Twitter, and just like Mr. Stefan Nasso just said, he wasn't even really on Twitter and Facebook like that. So the lives he touched outside of that, are so much more. So it's just an unbelievable thing. It's VictoryLaneRadio.com, the Hollering with Hammer Show. Real briefly, while we're waiting on Derek Kennington, he's actually weighing in as we speak. He should be calling in shortly. He's going to be fighting in honor tomorrow on pay-per-view in honor of Brian Scalfani. Real briefly, you guys know, as darkness dies, I talk about him all the time. I'm going to be there live in Stamford, Connecticut at the Seaside Tavern on the 12th of this month, 8 p.m., the Seaside Tavern on Cove Road. I'm going to go Facebook Live from the Victory Lane Radio Facebook page for one song. and then I'm going to switch over to the Hollering with Hammer Facebook page and basically just film whatever the band lets me film. And Paul Coleman and Joe and Andrew and Mark and the rest of the guys over there, they're going to let me, do whatever I want over there, and I really appreciate it. As Darkness Dies, we're Soldiers of Solace on November 12th, 8 o'clock. Well, I'm choked up now. I don't get choked up too often. November 12th, 8 o'clock, it's a Saturday at the Seaside Tavern on Cove Road in Stanford. So, and, once again, thank you to a personal sponsor of mine, the great Brandon over at M&M Tile and Roof out in Kentucky. And he's actually bringing a sponsor on board to my program next week. And Racing Underdogs on Twitter will be back on with his racing updates. We're going to have a Craftsman truck racer next week. So, got a lot of things going while we wait right now for Derek Kennington to call in. Once again, PJ Bram, E10, Nick and Tyler, what's up, guys? Appreciate you. If my kids are still listening, I love you boys. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, I do what I want on this show. Usually I'm cussing and swearing. Tonight we'll keep it nice. And that's basically happy birthday, Paul, once again. And that's basically it. VictoryLaneRadio.com, Hollering with Hammer. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I got a Snapchat. Yeah, I don't even know how to turn the Snapchat on, but it's there. If you people can use it somehow, go ahead. Hollering with Hammer on Snapchat. So, once again, Derek Kennington will be on the program momentarily. I'm just waiting for him to call in now. He's fought in Bellator. He's 11-8 is his record. He's fighting in Spartanburg, South Carolina tomorrow night on USFFC 29 pay-per-view on flowcombat.com. Brian trained with him at his gym and actually gave him an honorary blue belt, I think yesterday, at the gym with all the members of the gym there. Derek is a black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll let him explain it. It's probably better that way. So once again, we're just waiting for him to call in. Thanks for Tim, Signatures for Soldiers, calling in. We finally got him on. He had called in one time, but we were up against the end of the show. So next week it's going to be live. We're going to be back. We're going to be popping next week. A couple baseball players lined up. Racing Underdogs will be on. At some point next week, professional bull rider Nicholas Severi will be on the program. Chase May, Zebra bull fighter, will be on the program soon.
Tito, whatever around it.
Derek's on.
So that's about that. It's the Hollering with Hammer show on VictoryLaneRadio.com, and right now, coming on to the program, professional MMA fighter Derek Kennington. Derek, how you doing tonight?
Hey, how's it going, man? I'm doing great.
So you just come from your weigh-in. Did you make weight?
Yes, sir. We could be 155 pounds plus 2, so I could be 157 pounds, and I weighed in right at 157 pounds. Okay,
and that fight tomorrow is on USFFC 29, the pay-per-view on flowcombat.com in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and you're dedicating that fight to Brian Scalfani, who trained. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I was just wanting to say, he was a student of mine. He trained with me, trained at the same gym as and he was just an all-around great guy, I did private lessons with him, both in, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai kickboxing, and boxing as well. And, he passed this past weekend, and I just wanted to, dedicate this fight to him. He's such an awesome guy to be around. His father sponsors me for my fights, Scalfani Food, so I can't thank those guys enough, and Gus and the whole family, really. Brian was just an awesome individual, man, and I can't say enough positive things about the kid.
Yeah. Now, our last guest, I don't know if you were able to hear it, but our last guest was one of his kickboxing trainers from Stamford, Connecticut, Stefan Nasso. And, I know tonight I'm dedicating my program to Brian Scalfani and the Scalfani family, and we're kind of just going into like the fighting aspect, but there was much more to Brian Scalfani. So I if you want to take a few minutes and, let the people know, what else you knew about Brian Scalfani as a person, same as Stefan Nasso did,
Yeah, absolutely. I Wednesday night during jiu-jitsu class, I'm the head black belt instructor for the whole gym and everything, and Brian was one of my students, and what I did was I promoted him. He was a 4-stripe white belt when I promoted him. I want to say maybe his second, third, and fourth stripe. He did some tournaments while he was down here. Super duper flexibility. Like a lot of the guys from the gym, they say that he was so hard to tap. Like, you couldn't choke the kid, and his arm would bend behind his back. He was just absolutely incredible person to roll with when you train. He was just super flexible. So Wednesday night, what we did was, I stood in front of the class, had them all sit down and everything. And, I talked a little bit about Brian. I did tear up. I cried some. And when I warned the class, I'm like, I'm an emotional guy, and Brian was just that awesome individual. Always had like this cool little grin on his face. Anytime you talk to him or, and talk to him about anything, really, he would talk to you and he'd have this little smile on his face. And, he had a real deep voice, and he was just a real genuine, likable dude. Nobody at the gym had zero problems with Brian, man. Everybody got along with Brian, and so Wednesday night, what I did was I promoted him to blue belt in his honor, and printed out a certificate. Everybody from the gym signed the belt and everything, and I'm going to mail that up to his family. Yeah, once I get everybody that has signed his belt.
Yeah, it's a great thing that you did there. The family will really appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yeah, man, he was just a really, really cool person, man. Just all around, just in every aspect. He was like so chill, and I sent him a message not too long ago, and I guess he was talking about moving back up to Connecticut and stuff like that. And he said he was going to miss the gym. Everybody was great there. He's definitely going to, miss us and everything. And I was just like, I was pretty sad then, and but I'm even sadder now that, he's just not here with us anymore. And I'm sure he'll be with me in the cage tomorrow night. When I fight. So I will have the Scalfani Foods logo on my banner, and around the banner it says in memory of Brian Scalfani, and I'll be dedicating that fight to him after I win.
Absolutely, and I know a lot of people are going to be in the Stamford area, Connecticut, and basically just all around. A lot of people are going to be getting that pay-per-view. Now that's on flowcombat.com, and that's USFF C29. If you want to talk about yourself, about the fight tomorrow, maybe talk about your opponent and about stuff, the whole deal tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Took this fight. I started training for this fight about 10 weeks ago. I'm fighting a taller opponent than me. He's about 6'4", skinnier guy. Doesn't have as many fights as me. I think he has 10 professional fights to my 19. And I'm planning to take it to his ass, man. I don't have any bad like blood with him or anything like that. It's just, man, when you train for one individual for 10 weeks and he tried to pull out from the fight last week claiming that he was injured and this, that, and the other, and I was like, dude, come on, like, this is professional MMA. You don't pull out the week of claiming you have an injury. It's Friday. Like, we're done training. It's a week out from the fight. take a week and rest up, you know. So I'm already in his head. He's already talking about retiring after this fight and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, dude, you know, like, I'm 33 years old. I'm going on my 20th professional fight, you know, and I just plan to go in there and, you know, fight hard for everybody, fight hard for Brian, and just do my thing and, you know, come out on top.
Yeah. Now, you said your opponent is already talking about retiring after the fight. Now, you had said you're 33 years old. What are your plans moving forward in the future in MMA after
you know,
this fight?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me that, you know, because I am 33. You know, I have a 11-year-old daughter, but you know, I spent 12 and a half years in the military, man, while I was trying to juggle being a professional fighter, and you know, I fought in Bellator, I always told myself that I would get it until I was 35. If nothing comes to fruition, if I don't go anywhere, you know, from there, then I'll probably hang it up at 35, man. My body is just getting, you know, it's getting beat up, you know. My back, I have back issues, I have hand issues, I have elbow issues, I have hip issues. You know, my feet, my knees have been good, you know, so that's all right. But, you know, everybody in this MMA game has issues as far as like, medically and everything. So it's, eventually I'm going to hang up and just, you know, be a coach and everything full time, because, you know, I coach all the fighters. I'm the head coach for the MMA team. I'm head coach for the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team. So I have a lot on my plate. I go to school full time, and plus I have a daughter as well. And you know, so it's definitely a lot being a student, being a professional fighter, being a head coach for everybody, finding them fights, especially when we have I think we have 8 professional fighters. So I'm dealing with contracts and dealing with setting them fights up and traveling here, traveling there. Just last weekend, I was in Atlantic City, New Jersey for a guy's fight. This weekend, I'm 3.5 hours from home for my fight, and one of my teammates is fighting as well. And next weekend, I head to Charlotte for another guy's fight. So it's busy for us. And then December, I head to Philly for another fight. So I'm traveling all over, man. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I got out of the military to do this. I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world.
Yeah, first, Hollering with Hammer Show on VictoryLaneRadio.com would like to thank you for your service to this country. Second of all, the reason why I asked you that question, you know, about what the future holds, is because I had seen, you know, your age, but I looked into you when I was researching this. We put this show together tonight on the fly, but you know, you fought at a high level. You fought at Bellator. You're in impeccable shape. You know, I see this stuff. You know, I see the training pictures of your weigh-in today, stuff like that. That's why I asked you. You know, I didn't see any pictures or any info on your opponent. You know, that's why I was asking that question. Yeah. If you have a chance, you know, sometime in the future, if you head to SoundCloud or iTunes and type in Victory Lane Radio and go to the Hollering with Hammer show from tonight, in the beginning of this program, we had a guy by the name of Tim from Signatures for Soldiers. It's a nonprofit organization. They take autographs from MMA fighters, from baseball players, stuff like that, and they sell it, and all the money, 100% of the money goes to MMIA, military missions. You know, they help out with veterans and stuff like that. But yeah, I was just wondering that question, because I see the shape you're in. I've seen the level you fight in, you know, and the way you said, well, I'm 33 now, you know. I mean, I think you could easily make that 35 age that you said you set for yourself. And that fight tomorrow will be in Spartanburg, South Carolina, USFFC 29, and it'll be on pay-per-view. Just head over to flowcombat.com. So, Derek, I'll give you a couple minutes here. The show ends in 5 minutes. Is there, you know, any sponsors you'd like to thank? anything like that, and any last words about Brian or to the Scalfani family?
Yeah, man. I just want to thank them for, raising a really good kid. He's always been awesome to me and to everybody he's ever met or in and around the gym. And, I actually saw him, I think it was last week sometime. I was doing a strength conditioning session with my strength and conditioning coach, and he came up to me and, he talked to me about, his father sponsoring me and stuff, and he's got to, come by the gym or whatever and talk to me and everything. And, I can't thank his father enough. He'd never met me, but, he would always send a check to Brian, and Brian would bring me a check to sponsor me for my fights and stuff like that. And he's just, so Scalfani Foods, man, that's the first shout out. They're awesome. I appreciate everything they've ever done for me. I thank them for bringing Brian into my life and, showing me, such a kind-hearted person, and then next is, Kahiko Clothing is one of my main sponsors. They've been with me since 2014, and that's the thing with me, man, is I always like to build relationships with my sponsors, and I felt like I've built a relationship with the Scalfani family. And Strongboard, they've been with me for about a year now. Strongboard Balance Boards is another one of my good sponsors. American Acceptance Finance Corporation and Backyard Bar and Grill. I'm having a post-fight after party on Sunday there. It's in Myrtle Beach. So if anybody in Myrtle Beach is listening, we'll be there around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon celebrating the win and stuff. Man, I got Hero Tattoo. It's just Bridges Family Barbecue. They're in Shelby, North Carolina. They've been voted America's #1 barbecue throughout all of America. They're family friends of mine as well, and I can't thank them enough as well. It's just, man, I drew a blank, but, I kind of get shooken up a little bit when I talk about Brian, and, he was just, I shared a conversation I had with him and the other day with his brother over, Messenger, and I was just, he's just a kind-hearted dude, man. I'm really gonna miss him. So, tomorrow night I'll definitely, I'll be on the microphone and I'll probably be crying and I'll probably be shouting out to Brian and everything. So, from there, that's all I got for tonight, man. I can't thank you guys enough for having me on to talk a little bit about my fight, and then plus to shed some light on Brian in a positive manner as well.
All right, Derek Kennington, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I'd like to have you come back on in the future. We'll stay in contact on private
yes, sir.
Messenger. I'd like to have you come back on where we could have a little more time to talk about, Brian, but also go into the fighting in this fight. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right,
have a good one, man.
Professional MMA fighter. That was Brian Derek Kennington, professional MMA fighter, fighting tomorrow night on US FFC 29 pay-per-view, flowcombat.com. This show tonight was dedicated in the memory of Brian Scalfani. If anybody would like to make a donation, the family request, just send a check, whatever, to Brian Scalfani, to the American Cancer Society or your local animal shelter. Thank everybody. Thank the Scalfani Italian Food Corporation. They've been riding with my show. They've been riding with me for a long time. Everybody else who's associated with my show, thank you. I'm up against the clock. The Scalfani family, thank you. Everybody's thinking about you. This program was dedicated to Brian Scalfani. We're going to do something a little bit differently tonight. I'm not going to leave here violently. I'm going to drop the mic slowly. I'm going to walk out gently.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Bump and Run. Check us out next Monday at 7 p.m. on the Victory Lane Radio Network. Couldn't hear the show live and want to hear it again? Tell your friends you can hear it all on VictoryLaneRadio.com.
HDRadioNetwork.com.